See, to be honest with you, I'm no different than any of you. And I could, excuse me if I offend anyone, but I don't think the typical NRA person cares about the young black kid getting gunned down in Chicago or the Puerto Rican store owner getting gunned down in the South Bronx. I don't think they really care. And
really?
You know what? I don't think.
Listen, Mr. Esposito, I have to tell you, you may not have meant to offend anybody with that, but I guarantee you just did. I mean, now listen, I don't speak for my audience. I've already told you I don't speak for the NRA, but let me tell you a little bit about my story. Can I tell you a little bit about my past?
Go ahead.
I've been married to a wonderful woman for 12 years. She came with 2 kids. My daughter actually just graduated college. My son's getting ready to graduate high school. They lived, when I met them, in Camden, New Jersey. Now, I don't know if you know Camden at all. It is not.
Pretty rough.
It's pretty rough. And so these were the kids that I loved and grew to love, living on the streets in an inner city community, biracial children. Please don't insult my intelligence. Please don't insult my character by saying that NRA members don't care about young black kids or young Puerto Rican kids. NRA members, Mr. Esposito, I guarantee you, care about young American children. Every child in this United States, I guarantee you, the NRA members of this country want to see them. I know I want to see them grow up and to achieve their full potential. But the problem, and I'm going to have to get a little personal as well here because I'm just speaking for myself. But, my biggest problem with laws like this, Mr. Esposito, is you had a case not too far away in Buffalo not too long ago. Curtis Byers, who is a high school student there in Buffalo, who is now accused of brutally beating another student, was in school without any additional restrictions or supervision, despite the fact that he had been arrested and pled guilty to an armed robbery in August of 2007 and a June 2007 arson that left a firefighter with his leg amputated. And this kid is in class. He is interacting with other students. He, again, brutally assaults a student in the cafeteria. Now, if you want to tell me what could make a bigger difference in the lives of your students and in the lives of the kids at Williamsville South High School, I would say it's legislation dealing with repeat violent felons rather than the promise of some unproven technology that is supposed to magically make it easier for police to solve crimes. I think the attention is being focused on the wrong people. I think the attention is being focused on the law abiding rather than the law breaking.
Well, fair enough. That kid, I'm familiar with that case, of course. Just happened about 30 minutes from my home. That kid shouldn't have been in school. That kid should have got some time for that arson and the other charge. There's no question about it.
But there is a question about it because he was in school. Obviously, there must be a question about it because you and I are in the Mike. You and I must be in the minority, feeling like this kid should have been behind bars. Because we're told that if we focus on the individual criminal, if we focus on the lawbreaker, that somehow we're ignoring society. But these are the individuals who are causing our kids to grow up in unsafe areas. Did you see this FBI report that came out last fall, Mike? It said 80% of the crime in this country is committed by the nation's 1.3 million gang members. Now, there are 90 million legal gun owners in this country. There are 1.3 million gang members, and they're the ones committing 80% of the crime. Why is the focus on the law-abiding gun owner and not on the violent criminal, not on the gang member or the repeat offender?
But sir, no one's trying to take away your right to own a weapon. That's
that's not what I asked, Mike. Why is the focus of your lobbying efforts and your students' lobbying efforts on the law-abiding gun owner and the legal retail firearms trade, rather than cleaning up the communities, making sure that these violent offenders aren't walking the street? Are you confident that there's nobody like Curtis Byers walking the hallways of Niagara Falls High School right now?
Sir, we can't lobby to get rid of liberal judges. What are we supposed to do? You tell me how we're going to do that.
It's not.
Right?
Excuse me. It's not a matter of getting rid of liberal judges. I mean, the laws are already on the books. Unfortunately, it's a matter of using the district attorney's to go out and prosecute these guys, and maybe it's a matter of reforming the criminal justice system. I'm not an expert on the criminal justice system, Mike. I wish I were, but it seems to me like that isn't that the bigger priority? Shouldn't it be the bigger priority than a micro-stamping bill?
I don't know how we're going to reform the criminal justice system. I think these laws. Let me ask you this. Let's go to the second. Why would the NRA be against the gun dealer responsibility bill?
Well, without having looked at the actual legislation, I'm going by memory here, and it's been a few months since we've talked about that particular piece of legislation. But doesn't that piece of legislation hold firearms retailers responsible and negligible if somebody breaks into their store and steals a firearm? Because I'm pretty sure that was in the bill as of at least a few months ago.
Yeah, they're gonna be more accountable for their.
But more accountable is different than being accountable when they shouldn't be. I mean, Mike, if somebody breaks into your home and steals your car and uses it in a drunk driving accident, should you be held accountable?
But how do you explain the stat that 1% of the gun dealers comprise 60% of the crime guns?
Look, Mike, it's already a federal felony to engage in a straw purchase. It's already a federal felony to illegally traffic in firearms. There was just a case last week in Detroit where an illegal firearms trafficker got 33 years in federal prison. The laws are already on the books. It's just a matter of enforcing them.
Not in New York State, they're not.
Mike, it's a federal law. That applies in New York State too.
Well, in New York State, I'm telling you what's happened. They're buying all these guns and they're saying they get stolen. What they're doing, though, they're allowing these straw purchases. And they're selling guns to felons.
Where's that? Where do you get that? Where's that statistic coming from?
You never heard that stat? 1% of the guns, 1% of the gun dealers result in 60%.
I've heard it from groups like the Violence Policy Center, but I've not heard it from any third party. No, do you know where the statistic comes from?
It was quoted. I got it from New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, and they got it from some think tank. I forgot the name. The felons got to get their guns from somewhere, right? I mean, where are they getting them from?
Well, a Department of Justice study that was done during the Clinton administration back in 1997 actually asked 18,000 felons that very question: where did you get your gun? If you want to include pawn shops in with retail, then about 11% of the felons said they bought their gun at a gun store or at a pawn shop. Now, that may include people who were legally eligible to buy a gun and then went out and committed a crime afterwards. About 86% of the 18,000 felons that were interviewed said they got their firearms illegally, either on the street or through family and friends or through a burglary. That's where the vast majority of criminals are getting their guns, through illegal means. And if something's already illegal, then we already have the means to combat it. It's just a matter of enforcing those laws.
Well, the Gun Dealer Responsibility Act will train these gun dealers how not to sell to straw purchases.
But have you ever heard of a program called Don't Lie for the Other Guy, Mike?
No.
Okay. See, this is a program that the National Shooting Sports Foundation works with the ATF in doing, and that's exactly what they do. They go around to gun stores around the country. They give materials to any gun store owner, any FFL holder that wants it. That does exactly that. It trains them in how to spot a straw purchase so that they can stop that. It also gives them resources so that they can contact law enforcement in the case of a straw purchase, because sometimes law enforcement may actually want you to cooperate so that they can and go ahead and make the sale so that they can bust the person later. But there's already a program to do that very thing that every FFL holder, every legal gun seller in New York State can take advantage of.
Well, it just something needs to be done. I don't think
but it can't just be something, Mike. The right thing needs to be done. Telling our kids, well, something needs to be done, and something's better than nothing. I mean, to me, that just doesn't seem like the right message to be sending our kids. What are we teaching critical thinking skills to our kids? Are we telling them, if you look at legislation A and legislation B?
George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were known 1 million people would have died due to handguns from 1968 to 2008. they might not have passed the Second Amendment. Let me just tell you that. 1 million people have died in our streets. 1 million.
I thought you just said this wasn't about the Second Amendment, Mike.